going to talk about an article I read yesterday about the active housing inventory in the U.S. So, Resi Club at resiclubanalytics.com. It's a free website. I use it to look at what's going on in different markets, things like that. Read a lot of their articles. So, they have a lot of free articles. And they did some analysis of the 200 largest metros in the U.S. and found the 50 with the active inventory that had decreased the most since COVID, and also that had increased the most. And we'll talk about what that means. So the ones that had decreased the most since February 2018, what we would likely see is housing prices increase in that market because the active inventory, so that's houses that are for sale on the MLS in those markets, is down. And then when we talk about the locations, the metros that where the active inventory has increased since 2018, what we would expect to see is that housing prices in those metros, because there would be a lot more houses on the MLS now, would likely decrease. Now, that doesn't always have to hold true. Maybe a lot more people move to some of these areas. Maybe some areas have people that moved away from them. But that's what we would expect to see. We would expect to see if there was a lot more inventory, maybe days on market would increase because there's more inventory. Those houses could sit on market for longer. So we'll talk about the top 5 for each. I would not have guessed any of these. Some I was aware of, like in Florida and Texas. I'm vaguely aware of what's happening there with housing inventory increasing and things like that. But so for the top 5 U.S. markets where housing inventory had decreased, and I'm going to go number 5 to number 1, and then 1 will be where it has decreased the most. So at number 5, it is Norwich, New London, Wilmette, Connecticut. It's in Connecticut anyway. Not a market I'm familiar with. So that's number 5. Number 4 is Champaign and Urbana, Illinois. Number 3 is Hartford, West Hartford, and East Hartford, Connecticut. Another one in Connecticut. That's 2. Number 2 is Erie, Pennsylvania. And the number 1 city out of the U.S. 200 largest metros with the lowest active inventory is Bridgeport, Stanford, Danbury, Connecticut. So 3 of the top 5 are in Connecticut. So Connecticut, it sounds like, has a very tight housing market right now. I'm going to bet that they just haven't built a whole lot of homes over the past few years. So this data is from February 2018. That's when it would start. And then it went to February of 2025. So just to give you the numbers behind that. So just for the number 1 metro with the tightest housing market, so the lowest active inventory, they are down 80%. So in February 2018, they had 4,400 homes for sale on the MLS. Today, they have 895. So from 4,400 to 895. I mean, if you're looking for a home in Danbury, Connecticut, your pickings are slim. There is not much to choose from. So what you would expect to see in a market like that, now just assuming a lot of other things stayed the same, but you would think you would see prices increasing. I actually don't have data to support that, so I don't actually know. I'm not active in that market at all, so I couldn't tell you what's going on. And my markets of Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and Winston-Salem, Greensboro, North Carolina, they're not on any of the list. So I can't confirm what's going on in those markets because they weren't listed. I did want to give a shout out on this list. At number 13, a shout out to everybody back in West Virginia. So at number 13, Huntington, Ashland, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio. So the little tri state area there around Huntington and Ashland. They come in at number 13 with as far as active inventory. They went from February 2018, 1,692 houses on the MLS, down to today, or actually this past February, 549. That is a decrease of 66.7%. That's a lot. That's come way down. So now we're going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Talk about housing markets with the biggest increase in active inventory since February 2018. So this kind of goes. This is a good thing to look at because it's pre-pandemic to post-pandemic. Because we all saw all the craziness that happened during the pandemic with house prices and things like that. So this takes a look at it pre-pandemic because February 2018 was well before the pandemic. So again, I'm going to go number 5 to number 1. I'll go number 5 to number 1. So when I finish, it'll be the U.S. housing market with the highest active inventory compared to February 2018. So coming in at number 5, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Their active inventory is up 46.4% since February 2018. Number 4 is Ocala, Florida. Number 3 is Lakeland, Winter Haven, Florida. Number 2 is Punta Gorda, Florida. And coming in at number 1 with an active inventory increase of 75.9% is Killeen, Temple, Texas. So just to put some numbers behind that Killeen, Temple, Texas, February 2018, they had 1,388 houses on market. So if you went to the MLS looking for a house, you had a choice of 1,388 houses. Today, that number is 2,148. So an increase of about 76%. But a lot of people move to those markets, the Florida and Texas markets, and then Colorado's thrown in there too. So those markets during the pandemic. I think what happened, and I don't completely know this, I think what happened was housing prices increased there a lot because a ton of people moved there during the pandemic. They headed south, and the housing prices just went up by so much that they just got out of the affordability for most people in those areas. And something else happened. A lot of construction happened in those markets, so a lot of new houses were built during that time. So you had people move in, housing prices go up, then also construction started because the housing prices had gotten so high in some of these markets. And I'm talking specifically about this list where the active inventory is much higher. So like this Killeen, Texas. So a lot of new homes were also built. And then so affordability is stretched because people can't afford the houses because so many people moved in and the prices went up so much. But then also a bunch of new houses got built, and those pressures start pushing housing prices back down, and you end up with a lot of houses on the market. So that's what looks like happened there. I don't actually have the data to support if housing prices are going down in these the Texas, Florida markets that they're at the end of the list there. It just talks about inventory. So I'm only close to my two markets, and that is Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and then also in Greensboro, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, because I used to live there. They were not on the list at all, so I assume they are somewhere in the middle. If you're in any of these markets and you know what's going on in them, feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know what you're seeing in those markets. Also, if you want to book a 25-minute call with me, there'll be links. I'll also link to this article so that you guys can go check it out yourselves. You don't have to take my word for it. Hope that was helpful to you. And I always like to end these with a quote. So today's quote is: to achieve something exceptional and extraordinary, you must, by definition, do something that few and no other people are willing to do. So if you want to achieve something exceptional and extraordinary, you, by definition, have to do something that few others are willing to do. I hope that helps you. I hope that gives you some clarity in your life and things that you should do. Feel free to reach out to me if you were to need anything. And y'all have a good day. See ya.